Welcome to the To Fight For podcast. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Heather. We're offering you a seat at our table to join our conversations, which center on healing through reimagining hospitality in relationships. This season, we are focusing on building and maintaining authentic, healthy friendships.
Our friendship has been through the ringer, but now it's stronger than ever because we chose to fight for it. Our hope is to inspire you to fight for yours.
Hey, we're back.
We are back.
And today we're talking about what does it actually look like to resolve a conflict in a friendship? And we're going to give our own example.
We are.
A new one that you have not heard yet.
Yes, we are. We haven't shared this one. And our hope is that when we share our own stuff on this podcast, the stuff that's happened in our friendship or the things that individually we've worked on or that we have healed, is that it helps people to recognize their own stuff in relationships and in their own life, and encourages you to see that people can actually have conflict, resolve it, have difficult conversations, be empathetic and loving, but you can also be empathetic and loving towards yourself and heal. So that's why we do a lot of sharing our own stories, so that hopefully it will help people see real life people going through the hot mess that is everything.
Right. Yeah. We don't have it all together.
No.
I think we're just willing to be open and honest about the fact that we don't have it all together.
Yes.
And share the ways that we work through it, because it is so worth fighting for our friendships and the people that we love. And in a culture that says, just walk away, just cancel that person, just click unfriend or unfollow, we're saying, no, we're going to look at these people. We're going to evaluate these relationships. We're going to ask ourselves, is this person important to me? Is this person in my life? Do we share a lot of mutual friends? Are our families connected? That's a friendship that is worth fighting for. Even if it starts to shift and look different over time, you don't have to stay at the same level or depth of intimacy with a friendship. That can shift over time. But what we do want to come to is some sort of awareness of how we treat people and what it looks like if we're reorienting during a difficult time in a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get down to it.
All right.
Let's talk about our conflict.
First, though, I do want to share scripture. This is scripture that we know. If you have grown up in church, you've heard this verse or these verses a million times, but I kind of want to preface our conversation with them so that it can help us shape our perspective as we move forward today.
Okay.
It's 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 7. And Paul is talking here to the church in Corinth on love. What does it look like to love? And this was a time during heavy conflict. You have opposing people groups just like you have today. The early church is really no different than the modern church in terms of its placement in a hostile context. So Paul is saying, look, you can overcome these obstacles that exist in your cultural surroundings by loving one another. And this is what it looks like. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. And I think that's important because as we talk about this conflict, we had to essentially keep these things in mind as we moved forward to talk through this conflict, to see the good in the other person, because there were real feelings, right? There were real feelings involved in this conflict.
Yep.
But as we worked through it and we kept these things in mind, that we were trusting one another, that we were hoping for a good outcome, that we were not just self-seeking, but we were hearing the other person, that helped us resolve this conflict and get through it. And, once we got through it, things were fine immediately.
Yeah, immediately. It wasn't like, oh, the next day or weeks later. It was like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's get it all out on the table. What happened? What do you think happened? What actually happened? Why was I upset? Why were you upset? And it was immediately, we talked about it confronted each other. And then, I mean, I want to say it was
Immediate
less than
resolution.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it was gone. There was no overthinking. There was no harboring ill will against each other. There was nothing. In less than 30 minutes, it was like, boom. Okay. Well,
Right.
now we can laugh about that because that was a hot mess.
Right. Yeah. And it was a hot mess.
It was a hot mess.
By
Oh
the
my
time we get to
gosh.
the end, it's kind of funny. Now it's funny.
Oh, now it's funny. In the moment, it was not funny. But after the 30 minutes, it was funny. And we could be like, okay, well, this is cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so it began like this. We had plans on a Friday night. We were going to go out for dinner. And I think it was, I don't exactly remember when, but I think it was just during a very busy time. So I think we both were like, we need to connect. It's been forever since we've hung out,
Yeah.
and we had made plans to go out to dinner on a Friday night. And that day you texted me and you were like, I'm sick. I don't feel well. I don't feel like going out tonight. And I was like, okay, not a problem. And that was on Friday. And then on a Sunday, I was at the high school for some sort of kids event, and I ran into your husband, Josh, and he was talking about their weekend, and I was like, how's Jamie? And he's like, oh, great. She went out Friday night, blah, blah, blah. And I have no clue what he said after that, because all I heard was she went out Friday night after I knew that you had texted me and said, I can't go out tonight because I'm feeling sick.
Yes. So I was not with my husband when this conversation took place. I was at home, and Josh doesn't say anything to me. He's not like, oh, I saw Heather. We had a conversation about this or that. Nothing was said. Okay.
Right. And so in the meantime, I get in the car, and, you know, my husband, Eric, is looking at me, and he's like, okay, I can tell you're upset. I heard what happened. He's like, don't jump to conclusions. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm sure there's an explanation. But a lot of things were happening internally at this point, because I'm like, okay, this triggered relationship number one. My friendship with you in the beginning did look like that sometimes. The first relationship, there were times when there were shifting of plans and not always transparency. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, is she going back to old Jamie? Like, I think I had that thought in my mind.
I think you did say that to me, like during our conversation. Like for a second, I had the thought, is this like friendship number one, Jamie? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, but the other part of me was like, I am not going to write some sort of narrative in my mind to make sense of this. I'm just going to send you a Marco Polo immediately. So for those of you who don't Marco Polo, it's just an app. It's like a video app where you can send a video message. And we do that. It's an easy way for us to communicate because we don't always have time to talk on the phone in real time. So we'll just send a video, when we're driving in the car or whatever. And it's just an easy way for us to communicate. So I think I don't like approaching Jamie. We've already discussed the fact that I don't like conflict. Jamie has this resting bitch face that usually she's fine, but like sometimes it just looks like she wants to commit murder. And so, when you know that your friend really looks like she could kill you at any moment sometimes, and then you have to confront her on something, that can be really scary. I love Jamie, and I love that I love all of her. I really do. But still, I can admit that sometimes she scares the you-know-what out of me. So, anyways, I am determined that I'm going to just send her Marco Polo and say, hey, look, okay, I was talking with Josh, and he said you went out Friday night. And I know that there has to be some sort of explanation because I don't really think you would just ditch me, but I'm feeling like a whole lot of stuff is coming up right now because you told me you couldn't and we had plans. So I sent this message to you and then you responded.
Yeah. So I get this Marco Polo and I'm watching it and I'm like, what in the world is she talking about? I'm like, what is happening? No, I was sick on Friday. I didn't go out with anybody on Friday night. I canceled my plans with you not to hang out with somebody else, which in friendship number one, I will admit, I did. And it wasn't just to Heather. You always have those friends that sometimes they wait for what's the more exciting plans or maybe you're into music and you'd rather go to a concert. So you made plans to go to dinner.
Don't make excuses. You were just a jerk. You were just being a jerk,
right? But how
am I not exciting?
I did that in friendship number 1. And so I did do that. But in friendship number 2, I didn't. And so I get this Marco Polo and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Mm-hmm. I did not go out on Friday night. What is going on right now?
Yeah. And your response, though, I could tell in your Marco Polo response, you were mad.
I was very mad.
I could tell that you were mad and you were like, you're being insecure. And so like you called me insecure and I'm like, hold up a second here. Like I'm coming in my mind. I'm watching your response. I came to you because I wanted clarity and I gave you the benefit of the doubt. But what you were hearing was...
What I was hearing...
Like, you just did this thing.
Yes. So what I was hearing was I got mad. I got very pissed. So that fight, flight, fawn, freeze, like my fighter, which is typically my response in situations. Oh, it came up. Now, did I notice it came up? Yes. Did I let it take over? Absolutely.
Why? Can you pause for a second and say, why did you feel like me asking you to clarify what happened? Why did that make you mad?
So it made me very mad because I felt like we were at a place in our friendship where you trusted me and we knew each other's hearts, which is why you came to me. In hindsight, now that we've talked about it and I can look back, there's so many things I can say about that now. But in that immediate moment, I was like, oh my gosh, she's judging me and my friendship. She thinks that I'm going to do these things to her that I did in the past. How dare her? And these insecurities in her are starting to come up and she's calling me out for behaviors that I didn't even do. Like she doesn't trust me. What in the world is going on? And that made me very angry because typically, like I've said, my response is a fighter. So when I feel like I have been authentic and I have been vulnerable with people and they're questioning my character or my values or behaviors that I've done, it causes me to get angry and that fighter comes up.
Yeah. And so then you're getting mad and I can tell that I'm shutting down because that's my natural response, right?
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, my feelings aren't safe here. I can start to feel like I'm emotionally unsafe because from my perspective, I'm like, hold on, I'm coming to you. Like, I have the precedent that we can confront one another. So I'm coming to you. In my initial Marco Polo, I was very calm. And I said, and I did give you the benefit of the doubt. And I said, I'm sure there's an explanation. But at that point, once I started stating what had happened, I can only imagine that you were like, hold up, that didn't happen. And that's kind of where that wall went up. So you responded. And then the truth started to come out because you told me that you went out a different night. And as I was watching the Marco Polo, I'm realizing, okay, so Josh misspoke.
Sure did.
Jamie did not go out with anybody on Friday night. So she didn't lie. She was homesick. But Josh said she went out Friday. And so as I'm processing it, I'm thinking, okay, now Josh is Jamie's husband. I can trust what he says. He's a reliable source. He's firsthand source to Jamie's life. Surely I can trust him when he says something. I had zero reasons to think that he might be misspeaking in the moment. So, so as I'm watching your response, then I'm like, okay, this is what happened here. So neither one of us was wrong. You didn't do anything wrong, but I also wasn't being insecure. I was bringing a legitimate concern to you, giving you the opportunity to talk through it and then come to that realization. So I responded, I think, in that exact way. I'm like, so I think this is what happened here.
Yes, you did. And you're like, okay, I think this is what happened. Because I said, I did not go out on Friday. I was actually sick when I canceled with you. I was sick. I did not go hang out with anybody else. I think it was, and I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was either the Wednesday before that Friday, or it could have been the night before on Thursday. I don't remember that detail. I know it was 1 or 2 days. It was either on Wednesday or Thursday. And I had gone out and I wasn't feeling great. I could tell I was probably getting a sinus infection or something. And then I canceled with you, and I was just
So that's probably what Josh was referencing.
Yes.
He just misspoke about what night you went out.
Yes, he misspoke
Right.
about what night. And when I realized, oh, Josh told her I went out on Friday night and I had canceled plans. Oh gosh, my poor husband.
Yeah.
He probably thought I was going to fight him.
Oh, yeah. I got a long apology text from him. I'm so sorry. But I'm like, you know what? It really caused us to pause and look at how we resolve conflict. And I'm glad that it happened because, one, it showed me that we can come together.
Yeah.
And now, if there's ever anything I feel like one of us needs to call each other out on, it's like, okay, we know, we trust, we've been here, we've done this before, we've walked through the conflict. It's not going to end our relationship. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like most conflicts are so silly to begin with. And I think when you really talk through them, you realize, okay, that really wasn't a big deal. Now, had I heard what Josh said and never gone to you and written some sort of narrative in my mind, oh, Jamie's reverting back to old Jamie, I could have completely written a story in my mind that wasn't even true.
Yep.
Not talked to you, started pushing you away. There could have been a whole other outcome had I not just confronted you and said, okay, look, this just happened. We need to talk about this because I can tell that I'm very unsettled by this feeling. And again, we had talked about in the past episode about how conflict in a relationship, if there is no conflict, it doesn't mean that there is no peace. When we talk through something and when I confronted you, I was trying to create peace because that experience left me having a lack of peace.
Right.
Right. So I needed clarity in that. And because you love me and I love you, I should absolutely be able to confront you on that.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. And we had conflicts before this. So I do want to say that too. But for some reason, this conflict invoked a different somatic response in my body where I was just immediately like so angry and upset with you.
Because what I was suggesting was something that you had walked away from, right? Like a part of your identity that you were like, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right.
And I wasn't necessarily suggesting that you were doing that, but it brought up those feelings that I had experienced before.
Yes.
So, and that actually led to more conversation. So then we started talking more about this and I'm like, ooh, that was really hard for me to hear that out of Josh, even though he misspoke. And we will forever razz him for misspeaking.
We've not let him forget about that. We give him a hard time about it.
Yeah. But I think in that moment, you saw my vulnerability. You're like, this is the thing that really hurts Heather, is that sense of abandonment. And we know that. Like, we've talked about that. Not just from you, but I've experienced that from multiple people in my life. And it's extremely hurtful. But that was a very triggering thing. And so we were able to walk through that together, too. It gave you an inside look as to the things that really hurt me. And just to be very aware of that. As we get to know each other intimately and deeply as friends, to be understanding, okay, this particular thing is just very triggering. That is something that cuts deep.
Yeah, right. You felt like I had abandoned you. I made plans. I canceled them. I went to go hang out with somebody else, which didn't happen.
Right.
But that's, what Josh had said. So again, reliable source. So why wouldn't you believe that?
Right.
But the key thing is that it was when you got home, you went into your closet where most of the Marco Polos happen, right? Because sometimes we say things to each other we don't want our kids hearing. So we talk to each other in closets or bathrooms.
Yeah.
And you got back right away and sent me a Marco.
Immediately.
And I'll say this is the other thing which is nice about Marcos. So Heather, as she's stated multiple times, doesn't really like conflict. She tries to avoid it, but she will call me out because she loves me or bring behaviors or things that I've said to the table. Sometimes it's easier over Marco than it is with an in-person conversation. In a Marco, though, that's different than a text, is I can still see her face while she's talking to me. In a text, you cannot listen to tone of voice. I cannot see her face. The way that all would have happened, if it would have gone over text, I think would have probably been much different.
Oh, correct.
Which is why sometimes it's easier to have confrontation or calling people's out their behavior or calling people out for like, I feel like you intentionally hurt my feelings. Let's talk about this over Marco. Now,
or face to face.
Right. Yeah. Or face to face. A face to face conversation is always going to be better. But sometimes with our busy lives, I have 4 kids, you have 3 kids. We don't always have time to get together.
Right. I needed immediate resolution.
Yes. You needed immediate resolution. So that was a great way to get immediate resolution where I could still see your face and your reaction.
Right.
And then you could see my face and my reaction to see that I was very upset.
Yes.
Yes. So
that's when I'm like, okay, even though I'm looking at you on a phone, I'm still going to go put my mouth guard in. I feel those punches come through the phone.
Yes. I mean, I do. I mean, I will admit it. You said it. I do have a resting bitch face. Like I do. I do. I've had it my whole life. Like I've tried to fix it. It just doesn't get fixed. It just doesn't work. I was just born with this.
But you're so cute when you smile, so, it balances out.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of people say, I was kind of scared of you. I was worried. And then they get to know me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so like kind and loving and empathetic. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Just my face. My face doesn't speak that.
Like a badass. Yeah. Just don't mess with me, which, that's good. I'm glad that I have a friend that looks like that. I can go out in public and know that I'm safe. So.
Yeah. So we talked about it, and then it was like, oh, a total misunderstanding.
And then at the same time, we're like, Joshua!
Oh my gosh, yeah. I want to circle back. It did bring up more conversations for what came up somatically for both of us, what we were both thinking and processing, and why we felt like that. So the conversation didn't just resolve. Here's the conflict. It's resolved. Yeah, sure. But the conversation didn't end there because we continued to talk about the stuff that actually came up and why was it like that?
Right. Why did you feel angry? Why did I feel abandoned? You know? And I think you're right. It goes deep and we know each other well enough and we know each other's past. So we were able to also empathize in that moment. Okay, I understand why you're angry. And you were like, okay, Heather, I understand why you felt abandoned. And I think what began as some sort of conflict ended up offering us the opportunity to empathize with one another.
Yeah, I agree. So what are the steps in resolving conflict? Resolving a conflict in a friendship. What's the first thing that we need to do?
Well, I think, and maybe this would actually offer some help too if we break it down with more nuance so that you can say how you want resolution in a conflict as someone who does have more of a fighter response, and me, what do I want or what do I need in a conflict as someone who has more of that shut down, freeze kind of response. For me, I have to be able to name the wound and know that I'm safe enough to do so. So in order for a conflict to be resolved, I need the wound to be named, whether it's me naming it or you naming it. The wound has to be named. We cannot heal or move forward if the thing that happened, we skirt around. It has to be addressed. And then also there has to be receptivity. So when someone says, I feel hurt, the other person cannot put up a wall. That's when the other person opens up their arms and says, okay, I'm going to receive what you have to say. I hear you. Knowing that it's coming from a place of pain or hurt, not of anger or hate. It's like, hey, I love you, but I feel hurt by this and I want to work through this because I don't want to feel hurt by you. If we're looking at this in terms of how we would approach a partner in life, if I'm going to approach my husband, I'm going to say, hey, honey, this really hurt me. And sometimes we resolve the conflict immediately, and sometimes it goes on and we really kind of have to work through it. But I think that's where it begins for me. Being able to name the wound and knowing that there is receptivity of, receiving what is being named.
I think for me, what needs to happen is it needs to happen sooner than later. And I know because of my past stuff, I don't have a super great memory for details. And I know it has to do with my past wounds because I have stuffed things down from my past. And so sometimes when there's conflict, I do the same thing with some of that conflict. So if it is not dealt with in a timely fashion, does it have to be immediately? I want it to be immediately, but realistically, I know that everybody's processing time is different. And sometimes people need to process because maybe, like you just said, you need to recognize what that wound is. And so you need to process that before you can come and talk to me. But I like timely conflict resolution because otherwise for me, it's hard for me to name my feelings sometimes because I need to be in the feeling to recognize it. I've gotten better at going back and saying, I think I was feeling this, or I was feeling this, or here's what I was thinking. But for me, in a timely fashion is what I really need the most.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Because I tend to be a slower processor. When I actually approached you quickly after that conflict, that was kind of against who I am and how I normally resolve things. I usually am a slow processor. I take time to think about things, to decide how I really feel about them. And because I don't like conflict, I tend to just sweep things under the rug. That's usually what I do. I just won't say anything. And I've learned over the years that I'm not helping myself because that inner conflict of me not feeling right in a relationship or me feeling uncomfortable around certain behaviors of others, I'm not helping myself. I'm not creating peace for myself, but I'm also not being kind to the other person. I'm allowing behavior to continue that shouldn't be continued. And so that I really appreciate that. The timeliness matters. And that is something that I've been working on.
Yeah. And I know that about you, though. I know that you're a slow processor, but we have talked about that in our friendship. And I have said, I need you to not take a week to process this. We need to have this conversation. Or if we're planning something, I need you to not take a week to process. I need it to be faster. So I am verbally saying, this is what I need from you as a friend, a person that I love, which I think is important. I'm not saying Heather can't have any processing time. I'm recognizing I want it immediately. And I know that's not how she works. In this account, she did. But this, well, I don't know. It's kind of been more your normal, I guess.
I think it's becoming more normal. I think maybe Heather from Friendship 1 never would have said anything, never would have called you out, never would have confronted you, I never would have said how I felt. I think I did that one time right before we split. I went over to your house after I felt excluded from an event. And I said, this really hurt me. And I think that was the most vulnerable I had ever been with you. And I remember in that moment not feeling received by you. And I think I sensed this relationship is coming to an end. I felt it before it actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing, though, that I want to say is recognizing in a conflict, I also need to recognize my somatic response because you and I, everybody has trauma in their life. You might have small traumas. I might have big traumas. I might also have small traumas. Your trauma is not necessarily trauma to me. I'd be like, oh, really? Huh. Well, that kind of sucks, but not really traumatic, right? My trauma might be extremely traumatic to you. Like we're all different. But because of that, I constantly need to recognize what's happening in my body, which is why I think I like confrontation to come in a timely manner, right? Because I need to know in that moment when you sent me that Marco real time, when I sent you one back, you could see, if we could go back to that Marco and put it so that you all could see it, my guess is you could see my anger and frustration like rise up in my body from like my gut.
You had a red face. As someone who was observing it, you had a red face.
Yeah.
You were tense. You were leaning into the phone. I could tell that you weren't feeling well. You sounded stuffy. Like I know that you weren't lying to me about not feeling well, but like I could tell your posture was not like relaxed, like, oh, I'm sorry, Heather, like I didn't mean to hurt you, or not that you did hurt me, but you know what I mean? Like there wasn't any sort of like, oh gosh, like, if Josh said that, that's not what, like, it was a totally different response.
Yeah.
And I think then that almost fueled my sense of abandonment because I didn't feel received immediately from you. I was like, why is she getting mad?
Yeah.
I'm coming to you and I'm like, clearly I'm shaking and I'm like, I'm sure there's another. That's kind of how I get. I'm like very apologetic and over explaining. And so, yeah. And that helps me recognize how I am too. I shouldn't, and we shouldn't have to apologize for the way that we feel. If our feelings are dictating actions, that's a whole other thing. But I can acknowledge how I felt in that moment, and you can acknowledge how you felt. And then, but we have to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, I mean, you can look up how to resolve conflict in friendships, in marriages, in relationships, in business relationships, whatever you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And they'll give you step-by-step responses. Number 1, stay calm and respectful. Did I stay calm? No. Nope. Heck no. Mm-hmm. I definitely didn't. Now, was that okay in that moment? I feel like Heather was seeing my bodily response in that moment. Now, it triggered for her abandonment issues, but it also, the beautiful thing about it is it also helped us both see each other better in our crap from our past, that although we have both healed from a lot of it, it still is always going to be there.
Yeah.
You're going to have that come back up in triggered. A conflict. It's going to get triggered. Now, does that mean then the next time something happens and I get angry that my anger will be as big? Maybe not, but maybe so. You just never know. But the fact that it happened was a beautiful thing because then we could talk more deeply and actively listen to each other, because that's a huge thing in conflict resolution too. You have to actively listen. You cannot interrupt each other. I need to see her as a person who loves me. I need to be empathetic towards her experience. Now, was it my experience? No. Would I have felt the same way in that if the tables were turned? Probably not. Yeah, I would have been upset. I would have probably come at it at a different way because that's my personality. But it allowed us to have a conversation and see each other's wounds that are semi-healed, but still are there. The wounds never just disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we're talking about conflict resolution, and you hit the nail on the head, like grace, mercy, acceptance, receptivity, all of these enable reconciliation. Forgiveness is the first step, right? Me being able to forgive. I didn't really have to forgive you. I need to forgive Josh for getting it wrong. Still love you, Josh, but I mean, Joshua. But I think that's the only time I ever call Joshua is when I'm frustrated with him.
When you're frustrated, yeah.
He's going to hate that when I say Joshua. But yeah, I think being able to, and this goes back to that scripture that I shared in the beginning about trusting one another, about not getting quick to anger, and about hoping for being able to work through it, to be able to have Jesus at the center. And what that means to me is that we're keeping in mind here, for you and I, faith is a very strong part of our relationship. You're my sister more than you are my friend. I'm my sister in Christ. So we are family, and I do view you as family. So for me, just dissolving the relationship is not an issue. We have to be able to work through it, talk through it, and being able to receive you, even when you're angry, it's hard for me. I don't like negative feelings. I don't like feeling negative feelings. I tend to not want to, which isn't always healthy for me. And you will call me out on that. Like, Heather, you need to feel all the feels. And I don't want to feel all the feels. Yes. So, but I think being able in that moment to stay in it, when I wanted to retreat, after I got that Marco response from you and you were mad, I mean, I was shaking, I was crying, I was feeling very triggered because at that point you still didn't know what had happened, but I was starting to figure it out. And for me, I needed to stay in it, stay in the fight. And when I say fight, not fighting against you, but fighting for healing and moving forward, I had to stay in it, even though it felt painful and uncomfortable and I felt very triggered. And I think the fact that I stayed in it and then you could see that pain that was brought up for me, we had a really good conversation after that, I remember.
Yeah, we did. We did. The other thing that I want to bring up in all of this, though, is the conflict resolution. Who was part of the problem? Right? And are they part of the solution? So my husband had said something to you and he mixed up things, which caused an issue between us. Now, he was the messenger, but the issue was between you and I. I didn't go to another friend and say, Heather, blah, sent me this Marco Polo and how dare her and blah, 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 blah. Instead, you and I had the conversation. And I want to bring that up because I think that that is super important because you and I have conflict resolution conversations with each other and we don't include other people unless they are also part of the problem.
Yeah, 100%. This is the first time that you and I are ever sharing this story with anybody. Josh knew about it. My husband knew about it because he was there standing with me when Josh said it. So he absorbed the whole thing. That was it. We never brought in anybody else, never talked about it. And this is the first time that we're sharing it.
Yes, exactly. So, we have to remind ourselves, and this comes from a very wise pastor that I had a while ago, that we both had, and we love him dearly. Are you part of the problem and are you part of the solution? If you aren't part of the problem and you're not part of the solution, then you shouldn't be in it in the beginning.
In the conversation.
Yeah, you shouldn't be in the conversation. Yeah. Right?
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
If someone comes to you about a conflict. Now, I know that in part of conflict resolution, we might need to seek counsel, but that's where we seek wise counsel that can remain neutral, who probably isn't a mutual friend of the two people having a conflict.
Correct.
Because we
Key
always
point right there.
Yeah, we
not
want
a mutual
to,
friend. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to point that out. It cannot be a mutual friend because innately, when conflict happens, even if you are not the friend in the conflict and you are friends with both people in the party, like you are also going to have a somatic response and your brain is going to side with one of the people, even when you are trying not to. It's very hard to not do.
The reason that I often internalize things in a small town, it's really hard to talk and process through your feelings because like if you want to talk about it with somebody else, even somebody that you trust, so many people that you and I know, they're all mutual. But when you share so-and-so hurt me, you are taking a risk at fracturing the integrity of that relationship because that person can then form an opinion about this person. And it might just be something I'm processing through and then come to find out later on, like with you and me, it was a huge mishap. But do I go back to that person I confided in and say, hey, I was wrong? Probably not. It's just a conversation that's left hovering overhead, and that person is left to, form opinions about, what I sought them out for. I think it is so good and healthy to be able to process through our deep feelings and our pain with a close friend. But that's where you have one or two trusted people who really know your heart and know that you're processing through pain and not just gossiping about somebody else. There's a big, big difference. And I think in a small town like we come from, we have to be so selective at who we share with and respect the fact that if I have a beef with someone that you are intimately friends with, I cannot go to you. It's not fair to you and it's not fair to the other person.
Right. Yeah. And that is something that I have grown in. If I'm being honest, that is something. I used to share the names of people that I was in conflict with when I was having conversations with other people. Was I seeking wise counsel? Probably not all the time if I'm looking back. But if I'm in conflict with somebody, I am not sharing any names. I'm saying, hey, there's this situation that happened with my kid, or there's this situation that happened with a friend. And I don't name any names when I come to you for wise counsel. I just say, hey, there's this situation. It's happening with somebody. This is what happened. I'm really upset by it. Do I have a conversation? Do I not have a conversation? Do I wait and give them processing time? I'm seeking wise counsel. Help me understand what my next step should be and how timely it should be.
And I'm sure there are times where I'm like, girl, this is all you, and you just need to calm down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is.
And I think that's where when we approach one another, we have to be able to, again, have that open posture to receive whatever is spoken to us. And I know that there's times when you've done that to me too. Friends should always offer the other perspective as well. Correct?
Correct.
Again, we go back to talking about blind spots. I want you to point out to me the things that I can't see. And I think that's important in relationship and with resolving conflict. So whether or not the conflict is between you and me or between me and somebody else, there always has to be an awareness that there's another side, another perspective, especially if we're listening to someone share about a conflict that they have with another person.
Yeah.
And to not form opinions against someone based on one person's testimony.
Right. Yeah. Which is why I think it's important if you're seeking wise counsel, you don't have to share names. Like
Right.
this whole, we have to share names and name people, name drop all this stuff.
Right.
Like that's a lie. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You can share about the situation.
Yeah.
I think because you're seeking wise counsel, like Heather just said, there has been times where she's like, Jamie, this has nothing to do with the other person. This has everything to do with you. And I'm like, oh, crap. All right. You're right. You're right. And then that helps me to reflect, name my somatic feelings that are happening in my body, what's going on in my brain with my neurons, because some of those neurons have not fully healed from my past. So what is going on in my brain? And so because she can be wise counsel to me, it helps me be a better person, which is ultimately what we both want. We've said it over and over again, and we will continue to say it over and over again. You should want the best for your friends. It shouldn't be a competition. You should be cheering them on and wanting them to be the best version of themselves. And the only way to do that is to have conflict and work through it. Yeah. So I know in the beginning, I was like, so what's the steps of conflict resolution? We didn't really name a whole lot of steps, because I think what is really important is conflict resolution for each person is going to look differently. I want an immediate thing. You need a little bit more processing time. Knowing what's going to rise up in me is my fighter, my anger. What's going to rise up in you is different. And so is there steps for conflict resolution? There are things that you should focus on. You should be empathetic. You should be an active listener. Stop thinking about what your next word is going to be. Be in the moment with the person and actually listen and try to empathize.
Well, and you talked about really acknowledging how you felt in the moment. You could tell your fighter personality was kind of pushing up. As we get to know one another deeply, it is important for me to acknowledge where my feelings are coming from, knowing what triggers me. But part of being a loving friend is knowing you.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about truly working through and healing conflict, I cannot approach the conflict and only want to see it from my perspective. I have to exercise empathy. I have to be able to understand my side, but also come into yours, right? There's this otherness. And I don't think that that's something that's very prevalent in our culture. We live in a very narcissistic culture where people are very focused on themselves.
Yeah.
And I think this is what's getting lost, honestly, and why there are so many people walking away from relationships, because everybody wants to make everything about them. In order to resolve conflict, I have to want to know you, and I have to want to embrace all the parts of you and work through your stuff as well. So I have to consider you in the conflict. I can't just be me and my side and how I see it and how I feel. I have to make space for you as well. And that's why I talk about this open-armed posture. If we have closed arms, we are never going to be able to come together and work through anything. I have to have open arms. I have to have an open posture that says, here's me, but you're safe here too. All of it. And we're going to work through it together.
Yeah, I agree. So I hope that this encourages you all to look at your friendships. And are there people that you need to have conversations with? And if those people are from your past and you haven't talked to them and you want to work on conflict resolution, that's okay. It doesn't have to be happening in real time. It can be people you haven't talked to in a long time, but you feel led to have a conversation. So I hope that this encourages you to work through conflicts in friendships and that you will stay there and fight the good fight of that relationship and the person that you love, and not just walk away or bury it. So thanks for listening.
Thank you. Till next time.
Till next time.